Hey there Facebook, it is Vanessa here again, your motivational speaker, trainer and head coach from Live, Love, Give. And today's message is for all of you guys out there who find yourself really wanting to be the helper, wanting to be the rescuer. And, whether that is in our relationships or any area of our life where we're dealing with people, where are you showing up where you're kind of being the helper and it's at the detriment to oftentimes ourselves and the other person. That's what today's message is all about. It's that sometimes the most loving thing that we can do is to let someone go. And both for ourselves and for the other person. And that's really what I wanted to deliver this message for you guys today, because I have been hearing from so many of you who are in these relationships. It doesn't have to be intimate relationships. Some of these relationships are family relationships, friendships, business relationships, and ultimately you have great intentions. You want to show them that they are loved, this person that you're in relationship with, and you want to help them and you want to support them, and you worry about them. If they didn't have your support, you worry what would happen to them. And it's a beautiful intention to have, is, coming from that loving place, coming from that place where you want to help and support people to be their best. But at the end of the day, sometimes we need to be really honest with ourselves about what's really going on and how helpful we are really being. And that's really why I wanted to start you guys thinking about, the relationships in your life where you are being the helper and, and you're really trying your best, and maybe you've struggled, maybe you have some ups and downs in that relationship. Maybe that person is in a really unhealthy dynamic with themselves and all you're looking to do is help them. But particularly if you're in an intimate relationship with somebody who you're helping, you're always trying to rescue, or you're trying to help them just survive, then this message is for you guys out there. It's something that I want you to think about in terms of shifting perspective and getting really brutally honest with yourself about how much that relationship and how you're showing up in that relationship is actually helpful. Because sometimes what happens is we don't realize it, but we're there for the wrong reasons. So many of us who have low self-worth, low self-value, we don't know, we don't feel good enough. We seek somebody out, whether consciously or subconsciously, that we can actually help and support, and we gain our value, our significance from helping that other person or being needed by that other person. But what happens is, if we go through that unconscious pattern and we don't stop to check in about the health of the dynamic that we're creating, a lot of the time we can actually be enabling this person to stay stuck in their victim mentality, stay stuck and not growing. We can put ourselves as that crutch that they need, and oftentimes we don't even realize it, but we're gaining our self-value from them needing us, and ultimately we're keeping them very, very stuck, and we're enabling poor behavior and that, like I said, that victim mentality to stay put within them, which obviously is not going to be healthy for them reaching their highest potential, and it's certainly not going to be healthy for you either. You enabling that, and also at the same time gaining your self-worth from somebody who's in an unhealthy state needing you. So that's really what the message is for you today. And I really wanted to help you make some shifts here in terms of, well, firstly, I just wanted to bring this concept behind the caterpillar. And I don't know if you guys have heard it or not, but it is a known fact that, a caterpillar, if you try and help it out of its cocoon too early, it dies. So you can envision that person that you have in your life that you're the helper to, and maybe you're creating some unhealthy, needy sort of dynamics there. And you can look at that person as the caterpillar who you're witnessing trying to make that, it's struggling, it's struggling, it's trying to break through that cocoon. But ultimately we need to recognize that when we help a caterpillar out of its cocoon too early, it dies. Its potential dies. everything that was possible for it dies. And we actually, sometimes the most loving thing to do is to just bear witness to the struggle. Be there and watch it and witness it. But don't pull it out too early. We've got to let that person in our lives, that caterpillar, go through the struggle sometimes itself, and so that it can break free and ultimately go through that struggle on its own. Sorry, I'm losing my voice today, but that's really I think it's just a really good way of looking at it. Sometimes we need a sort of analogy to sort of take our mind out of the game so that we can create some emotional distance and be able to recognize that, hey, maybe how we're showing up in this relationship dynamic isn't healthy. And I've been there in my life because a few different times, but what I wanted to say to you is that when we have that helper dynamic, and like I said, it's a beautiful place to be if you want to help people, but you've got to be brutally honest with yourself about where that's coming from. And through part of my growth, I recognized that I was enabling poor behavior. I was enabling victimization. And ultimately, if I really loved this person, I couldn't continue down that path. And I had to take full ownership that the reason why I was creating that dynamic was because I wasn't supporting and valuing and making myself worth something known to myself. I was seeking it in the external. I wasn't generating it in the internal. And I had to go and I had to let that person be, and I had to focus on my own self-worth and self-growth. And ultimately, that was the most loving thing that I could do for myself and for the other person. But it might not have been seen that way. When we leave people behind, sometimes they don't see it. They don't see the selflessness of it, the self-love and the real love that we're giving in that moment. And certainly people around us don't see that and don't make that meaning either. But if we allow the opinions and judgments of others to keep us small, to keep us playing in unhealthy dynamics because we're too scared that, that person might not trust our intention, then ultimately we're never going to reach our fullest potential, and we're going to not only limit ourselves, but limit that other person and limit both of our abilities to reach something extraordinary in quality of love and relationship. So, we've got to be brutally honest. We've got to take full ownership of who we are and how we're showing up. And ultimately, like I keep saying, that sometimes that the most loving thing that you can do is to let somebody go. And I'm really wanting you to get this, because I see it every day. I'm talking to people from across the globe who are in this unhealthy dynamic, and I see it and I feel it because I've been there, and I know what it's like when you're in it and you don't quite see what's really at play, and you really do. You feel like you're really trying to love, you're really trying to make it work, you're really trying to help people, but you don't know why you're not getting the traction. You don't know why you take one step forward and 10 steps back. You don't understand what's going on. What's this sabotage here? And what I've come to discover and experience within myself is that it is this dynamic at play. If you have that people pleasing, that helping sort of dynamic at play in your relationships, you've got to let that person go. Let them do what they need to do. Let them be the caterpillar that needs to struggle out of their own cocoon in order to survive. And you need to focus on empowering yourself around your relationship with self, because ultimately we know that when we create that dynamic and we need somebody to need us, and we want to help and rescue somebody else, that ultimately it's because we're seeking that external validation, and what we really need to do is work on the internal validation so that we can truly be of service and that we can truly love ourselves and another. So I know I've been going off for a while. As always, I want to check in with you guys. I can see you guys have left me some questions and comments and feedback, and I love it, so keep doing that. Moises, lovely to have you back, and Stephen and Laval and Hassani, love it. Awesome, guys. So great to have you. And Muritesh, Thank you, Moises. And Jessica, awesome to have you. I'm great, Stephen. Hope you are too. Lachlan, awesome to have you back. And Eric, I love it. I haven't seen you in a while. And Robert and Ryan, Caden's in the house. I love it. I'm grateful that you could get on live today. And Tim, happy to learn new information. Love it, Tim. And I really hope that today's message is adding value to you. Moises, great. I'm glad that you're here. And George, nice to have you. And Fiona and Maggie and Mark and Lewis. Awesome to have you guys. And Jessica and Mertza, and Matthew and Ashley. Let's read what you've written here. I recently ended a relationship where I was the helper. I cared so much and ended up giving to the point that I had nothing left for me. Then I realized I was there because I lowered my standards and living through significance. Letting go was the most loving thing I did for me and them. Ashley, I totally resonate. I love when you put your comments here, Ashley, because I really, really resonate with your journey and your experience. I could have even written what you just wrote there, definitely. So I love that. I love that you are on that growth journey of self-awareness and not settling. Just because we say yes to a relationship at one point in our life doesn't mean that we have to continue to say yes moving forward if it creates an unhealthy dynamic and we're not helping each other, we're not supporting each other to be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. So I love that you're on that journey, Ashley, and so many of us get stuck in significance. You guys have heard me talking to the 6 Human Needs by Tony Robbins and Chloe Mendanis many times. If you haven't, make sure you check out one of my Facebook lives where I am talking on a deeper level into those. But yes, significance and loving connection are two of the human needs, and they're on like a seesaw. So the more worthy we feel and the more lovable we feel we feel we're worthy of, the more we can go for that higher need of love and connection. But the more unworthy we feel, the more we go and choose significance. And the more we try and seek that validation, we need to feel special, needed, significant. And the more we go for significance, ultimately on that seesaw, so the less we get of love and connection, and vice versa. So you want to find a happy medium with that, and it takes that level of self-awareness. I absolutely love that you've been able to identify that for you, Ashley, and move on from a relationship that no longer serves or contributes to your life or their life. And you've got to be honest about that and recognize where that helping tendency is coming from as well, so that you can make sure that, you know, you get yourself in a really great position in your relationship with self, so that ultimately you can help others, and it's not coming from that needy significance place, which is ultimately just self-serving. And we think it, we bring a kind of selfless flavor to it, but if it's burning you out, if you're doing it at the expense of your truth, it's not coming from a healthy place. And I've been there personally myself many times. It's been more of a recent journey for me to break through from that as well. So love that, Ashley. Honor your journey, appreciate you sharing here so much, so thank you. And Caden, so true, love isn't a boa. We can't constrict the ones we care about. Holding on too tight will inevitably strangle them emotionally. Wow, so true, Caden. I love reading your words of wisdom, and I definitely agree with you. It's sort of something that we were chatting about a couple of days ago on one of the Facebook Lives, in terms of not being able to force love. You can't force love. Love comes from a really free place. There is no control in love. There is no constriction and restriction in love. So when we are finding that we're trying to be that boa constrictor like you're talking about, Caden, and you know, that ultimately is coming from fear, and it's not love at all, and it only keeps ourselves stuck and the other person limited as well. So thank you so much for sharing here, Caden. Always appreciate it. And Nadia, awesome. I'm glad that today's message is resonating with you. Jade, awesome to have you. And Gary, lovely to have you. And Elf, I love it. And Hikam, freedom is the basis of love. Definitely, Hikam. I couldn't agree more with you. That's been a new discovery for myself, recognizing that anytime we feel like our freedom is impeded on, it isn't love. Okay, so love and freedom come hand in hand. They are synonymous. So I love that you get that, Hakam. Thank you for sharing here. And Tim, awesome. I love that you like the caterpillar analogy. That's awesome. And Josue and Brittany and Sanket, nice to have you guys. Jade, it's so awesome that you're resonating with today's message. Yes, I love having you in the house, Thomas. Thanks for being here. And Soy Cairo, I think I'm saying your name right. Awesome to have you back. And Dong and Dean, awesome guys. And Elf, we are what we think. When we change within, we generally lose the toxic people around us and move to higher authenticity. Much love to you too, Elf. I definitely agree. And, we have to be that change that we want in our lives, as Gandhi would say. And yeah, I definitely agree that the sooner we can recognize that the dynamics that we are creating in our external world are an exact reflection of our internal world, the sooner we empower ourselves to recognize that the power lies in doing the work on the internal world, not trying to fixate and focus on the symptoms. We need to focus on the cause, which is always coming from our internal world and relationship with self. And you've got to do the work there if you want the change to come into your external world. So absolutely always love you sharing your words of wisdom here, Elf. Thanks for being here. And Sandra and Bobby's back. I love it. And Robbie and Arta from Michigan. I always love having you here. Jeremy's in the house from Utah. I love it. I'll be in Utah on Monday, so maybe Tuesday. Takes a long time to get over there. I love it. And Kay, nice to have you. And Kaden, let's have a look. I've seen that it's usually not necessary to cut anyone off forever. Usually it's seasonal or just a limit and change in dynamic. Just like you say, yep. But I'm sure abusive situation must be cut off indefinitely. That's where self-love shines through. Beautifully put, Kaden. Thank you so much again for sharing your words of wisdom with all of us here today. I absolutely love that. And sometimes I want to talk into that, cutting somebody off forever. This is something that I've been navigating myself in terms of when we leave relationships behind. How do we be proud of ourselves about that? What needs to happen? Do we just drop off the side of the earth, like I know I've done in my past when I've left relationships behind, because it's been easier for me to do, not coming from a strong place and a conscious place, but coming from just something that it's like a protection mechanism, just dropping off the face of the planet and never having to contact that person again. But there's so many different things at play, and I've been sort of navigating that. And if Catherine Woodward Thomas, who first coined the term around conscious uncoupling, I think is a beautiful thing. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing her a couple of different times and really tapping into her wisdom around, how we can actually keep people in our lives in a really amicable way, if we need to. And it's mostly for people who have some need for that relationship to withstand the test of time, like they have children or something like that. That's really important to have a really amicable separation with. And I would definitely agree on, if there's a really abusive situation, you got to be able to cut ties, and that is the ultimate self-love for sure. But also what I would say is that sometimes when we have these breakups and we need to leave relationships behind, maybe there's a period of time where we do need to completely cut ties before maybe in the future we could both be in a really healthy position where it's no longer creating tension or unhealthy dynamics, but also using whatever triggers come into play to build your self-belief, to build your own relationship with self and self-awareness, because ultimately it's those triggers that shine light on the work that we need to do on our internal world. So sometimes there's a lot of value in having that dynamic come into play if it's not creating an unhealthy dynamic dynamic that limits you, and ultimately it is actually uplifting you because you're somebody who does the work. So I love that, Caden. Thank you so much for sharing here. And James and Jeannie, awesome to have you guys. And Rob and Nick, yes, just jumped on now. Awesome, awesome. I love that you've caught me live today. So grateful to have you. And Ryan, awesome. Oh, Caden, you're the best. Thank you so much for sharing this message. I really appreciate that when you guys share. That's, you know, you guys, when you share my stuff or you leave me a review, like Caden, I know you've done both, and I'm just so truly grateful for that. That's the greatest gift that you can give to me. I just want to add value to as many people as I can, so that's a great way for you to help me do that. So thank you so much, guys. And to Caden and Ashley, you just came back from Tony Robbins. Oh, awesome. Which event did you go to? Did you go to Date with Destiny? Alicia Power Within? Let me know. I want to hear. And Nas, nice to have you. And Tim, I remember this caterpillar analogy in my thoughts today. You awesome, awesome. Definitely. I just find sometimes when we have like an analogy that keeps us out of it, it kind of like, you know, we can think about caterpillars rather than our emotions and our relationships. Sometimes it allows us to get the message on a deeper level and get the value from it. So I love that that's resonated with you, Tim. Thank you. And Phil, awesome to have you. And Kilo and Brett and Lucy, lovely to have you. And Ashley, yes, unleash the power within. I've never felt so free and at peace. Ashley, I'm so grateful to hear that. I love so much when people get to an event in particular of Tony Robbins. Honestly, I wouldn't be standing here doing what I do now if it hadn't been for that incredible man. And definitely, I would really encourage you guys to get to Date with Destiny. I'm going to be in Florida. I'm going to go to Date with Destiny in December in Florida this year. I hope you guys can come. Some of you guys will make it. It is incredibly life-changing, that event. I haven't been for a couple of years, and I'm really looking forward to getting back there and meeting it as who I am right now, because you always get so many different just incredibly life-changing moments in that event. It's like kind of putting 12 months of personal development in like 5 days. It is intense, but it is so worth it. Can't stress that enough. So I hope that you guys get there. And awesome, Jeremy. Yes, you are. And thank you so much for your kind words there, Lucy. Appreciate you. And guys, I really hope that all of you who have just joined me, I hope that you catch the recording and get really a lot of value from today's message. It's all about the fact that sometimes the most loving thing that we can do is to let somebody go. And I'm talking about the most loving thing that we can do for them, but also for ourselves. And recognize that even if we have that helping mentality, we need to be brutally honest about where that's coming from, because ultimately if it's coming from a place of neediness, like we need somebody to need us, and it's coming from that place of trying to get our validation and worth from an external source rather than from the internal, then it's actually not going to help anybody. So you're defeating the purpose of being helpful. So the sooner you get honest with yourself, the sooner you do the work on you, and if that means you need to let some people go in your life in order to refocus on yourself rather than get distracted by a relationship or whatever's going on, then that's what you need to do, and be kind to yourself. Life is a long-term game. And you need to recognize that you got to follow what's most right for you. And sometimes, like I wrote in my post today, sometimes we need to do the most courageous thing now so that we can have the most extraordinary thing later. And sometimes if that's you, if you want an extraordinary quality of relationship, sometimes you've got to take the time for you, even if it's scary. Even if it's scary to be alone and painful and you're worried, recognize that it is your only path forward to creating something truly extraordinary, where you're not settling for mediocrity, you're actually reaching for something that you've got the highest potential of living into. And, that's what life is about. It's about being courageous, breaking through those times of your worry, your fear, and so that you can have something extraordinary extraordinary and create the kind of love and depth that we all desire to have in our lives. So I hope that was valuable. I'm going to check in for your last comments here, and then I'm going to sign off. So make sure you're dropping any last questions and comments. Jay, awesome to have you. And Arta, you're so welcome. And Bobby from Texas, I love that. I'll be visiting Texas too. I love Texas. And Arta, yep, grateful that this is resonating. Chris, nice to have you. Kaden, powerful message. Have a great day. Yes, thank you so much. Same to you, Kaden. I've really appreciated, as always, having you here. And Bobby, I needed this after a failed 20-year marriage. Thank you. I'm so grateful that today's message has been of value for you, Bobby. And, you know, you've said there, failed 20-year marriage. I don't believe in failure, you know, and you seem like you're somebody who is looking for some answers and personal growth. So I love that, and I honor you for that. And there's so much wisdom and experience in that 20 years of marriage that I'm sure you will learn those lessons and you will take into your future, and you'll create something extraordinary that you couldn't otherwise have created if you didn't have that experience. So I love that you're here, Bobby. I honor your journey. Thank you so much for sharing your experience here. Thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate you so much. And guys, that is it from me today. I am sending you so much love, so much gratitude and appreciation for all of who you are, and for being here with me, for spending your most valuable resource, which is your time with me. I so appreciate it, and I'm truly humbled and grateful for that. So thank you guys so much. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. So make sure you're doing something extraordinary in the world wherever you are today, and you're focusing on shifting your perspective to something truly empowering. And I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. So sending you all my love.